The stars shimmered above the colony world of Valora 9, a planet where hundreds of alien races lived together under the Galactic Union's bright banners. Among them, humans were still new, curious, emotional creatures known for doing strange things. But no one in the colony had done anything stranger than Eli Turner. Eli was a simple human engineer who repaired transport ships and mining drones. He wasn't rich or famous, but one day the entire colony began whispering his name, because Eli had married an alien woman no one could understand. Her name was Lyra, from a race called the Vorthons. The Vorthons were known for their strange, almost insect-like appearance. Their bodies were covered in dull scales, and their faces seemed to have too many eyes. To most species, they were unsettling, to humans even frightening, and yet Eli had married her. When they first walked through the marketplace together, people stopped and stared. Alien merchants whispered behind their claws. Even humans looked away, pretending not to see. One miner laughed out loud and shouted, "Couldn't find a human, Turner? So you bought a monster instead?" Eli didn't answer. He only squeezed Lyra's hand tighter and kept walking. At night, he could still hear the laughter in his head. The colony gossip network was cruel. They said Lyra must have hypnotized him. They said Eli had lost his mind living too far from Earth. But Eli knew the truth. Lyra had saved his life. Months ago, during a mining accident on the dark side of Valora 9, Eli's oxygen tank had failed. He had fallen into a collapsed tunnel with no way out. His comms were dead and the cold had begun to bite through his suit. He remembered losing consciousness, until a faint blue light had appeared. That light had been Lyra. She had carried him out through the tunnels, using her strange, flexible limbs to climb where no human could. She'd shared her own air supply and even covered his wounds with some glowing material that stopped the bleeding instantly. When he woke up days later in the med bay, she was gone. But Eli couldn't forget the voice that had whispered to him in the dark. Soft, musical, and full of warmth. He found her weeks later, working quietly at the outskirts of the colony, repairing alien machinery for scraps. She looked fragile under the harsh sun. Her dull scales cracked, her long arms trembling. Most avoided her, pretending she didn't exist. That's when Eli made the choice that shocked everyone. He married her. But now, months later, the mockery had turned into something crueler. Some aliens refused to sell him parts. Others left insults carved into his workshop door. Even the colony commander had called him in once, frowning behind his silver helmet. "Turner," the commander had said, "your relationship is causing tension among other species. I suggest you keep a low profile." Eli had smiled tightly. "Sir, I didn't marry her for attention," the commander sighed. "Just be careful. The galactic law isn't kind to interspecies unions. Some species take it personally." That night, Eli sat beside Lyra outside their small dome house. The sky was filled with glowing ships passing between stars. He looked at her and said softly, "Maybe we should leave this planet, start somewhere new." Lyra turned her head, her eyes shining faintly blue. "No," she said, her voice calm but strange, like music underwater. "They can hate us now, but one day they will see me for who I truly am." Eli frowned. "What do you mean?" But Lyra didn't answer. She looked toward the horizon, where a storm of electric clouds was forming. Her scales began to flicker faintly, like tiny stars beneath her skin. Eli had seen that light once before, when she saved his life. Days later, rumors spread that something strange was happening in the outer zones. Mining machines were melting without heat. The air was glowing blue. Some said the Vorthons were hiding something powerful, something forbidden by galactic law. That night, the mocking laughter returned, this time from drunk soldiers outside Eli's home. They shouted, threw bottles, called Lyra a freak. Eli rushed out angry. But before he could speak, Lyra stepped forward. The men froze. Her dull scales began to shimmer brighter than the moon. Her eyes turned into pure light. The ground trembled softly under her feet. One of the soldiers gasped. What are you?" Lyra looked at them quietly and whispered, "You should not have mocked love. Born from truth," and for the first time, Eli saw her true body begin to emerge from the shell she had worn so long. The storm rolled over Valora 9 like a living thing, crackling blue lightning, glowing clouds, and wind that hummed through metal walls. Eli stood frozen outside his small dome house, the rain bouncing off his jacket while Lyra stood before the soldiers. shining like something divine. Her dull, cracked skin was gone. In its place shimmered a body of living light, soft blue and silver moving like waves. Her eyes no longer had pupils. They glowed with the calm brightness of twin moons. The storm seemed to bend toward her as if listening. The soldiers fell back, fear in their eyes. One whispered, "She's not a Vorthan. She's something else." Eli stared, unable to speak. He had lived with Lyra for months, shared meals, laughter, dreams, and yet he had never seen this. She turned slightly toward him, her face gentle but distant. "Eli," she said, her voice echoing softly. "I did not mean for you to see me like this." "What? What are you?" he asked, stepping closer. "I was born Vorthan," she said slowly. "But my kind was changed. Long ago, before the Union was formed, my people were chosen to carry a secret power, a fragment of the core light, the same energy that fuels the ancient stars." The soldiers, shaking, pointed their rifles. "Don't move!" one shouted. "By galactic law, you're a danger to this colony." Lyra didn't flinch. The air shimmered around her and the rifles began to hum. A soft pulse spread from her body. Then the metal of the guns melted into dust, falling like sand. Eli grabbed her arm. "Lyra, stop. Please, they'll call the Union Guard." Her light dimmed slightly. She looked at him, pain in her eyes. "They will come anyway." They always do when they sense the core light. Thunder boomed overhead. In the distance across the colony, alarms began to wail. By the next morning, news had spread everywhere. Human shelters forbidden creature. "Vorthan anomaly threatens colony." Eli's face appeared on the news screen beside Lyra's glowing form, recorded by the soldiers' suits. The commander's voice echoed through the speakers across the colony. By order of the Galactic Union, Eli Turner and the entity known as Lyra are to be detained immediately for questioning and containment. Outside, ships circled the sky. Union guards in black armor marched through the streets. Some colonists hid behind windows. Others threw rocks at Eli's workshop. The same people who once laughed were now afraid. Eli packed what he could: oxygen cells, food, and the small mechanical bird he had built for Lyra. "We can run," he said breathlessly. "There's a transport tunnel under the ridge. It leads to the old mining site, you know the way." Lyra hesitated. "If I run, they will destroy this colony to find me." "Then we'll give them a reason to stop," he said firmly. "But we're not staying here to die." For the first time, Lyra smiled. "You still choose me, even now." Eli touched her face gently, feeling the faint warmth of her light. "You saved me once. Now it's my turn." They ran through the abandoned tunnels, guided by Lyra's faint glow. The deeper they went, the more the walls began to shimmer faintly, as if responding to her. The stones themselves remembered her presence. "What is this place?" Eli asked, his breath heavy. "This," she whispered, "was once a cradle of my people. Before the Union came, before they erased us." Eli frowned. "Erased you?" Lyra touched the wall and the tunnel came alive with light. Strange symbols appeared, ancient and flowing. In the center of the cave was a crystal structure, massive, glowing like a heartbeat. "The core fragment," she said softly. "Our ancestors guarded it for centuries, but the Union feared its power. They took everything from us. Except me." Eli looked up at the glowing heart of the cave. "You're saying this thing could destroy them?" Lyra shook her head. "No, it could save them. But they will never understand that." Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the tunnels. Blue lights flashed on the walls. Union drones had found them. Eli's communicator beeped with a warning. "They're here," he said. "We need to move." But Lyra stood still, her light growing brighter, her voice calm. "No, it's time they know what they've been hunting." As the drones entered the cave, their scanners blared an alarm. Unregistered energy surge detected. Target classified as Tier 7 anomaly. Eli stepped in front of Lyra, spreading his arms. "Stop, she's not your enemy." The lead drone projected a voice. "Step aside, human. The entity violates Galactic Law 47B, possession of forbidden energy. You will be neutralized if you interfere." Lyra looked at Eli one last time. "Whatever happens now," she whispered, "remember, love is stronger than fear." And then the core fragment answered her call. The entire cave exploded in light. When the explosion faded, silence swallowed the tunnels. Dust floated like silver mist, glowing faintly in the air. The Union drones that had chased Eli and Lyra now lay scattered. Melted metal, wires hissing, sparks dying. The core fragment in the center of the cave still pulsed slowly, alive but calm. Eli coughed, blinking through the haze. He was lying on the rocky ground, his head pounding. "Lyra," he whispered. "Lyra, where are you?" At first there was no answer. Then from within the light a shadow moved. She stepped out slowly, her body no longer the fragile glow it once was. Now her form shimmered between matter and energy, like a living flame wrapped in human shape. "Eli," she said softly, kneeling beside him. "You're safe." He looked around in disbelief. "The drones, they're gone." "What did you do?" "I didn't destroy them," she said quietly. "The core did. It protected us. It remembers who I am." The core pulsed again, deep, slow, like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. The walls trembled faintly. Eli could feel the warmth through his skin. It wasn't dangerous, it felt alive. But far above them, the colony wasn't calm. The Union commander, Talon Drax, watched the readings on his holoscreen inside the command tower. His sharp silver armor gleamed under the control room lights. "Energy spike measured at 90,000 units, a technician stammered. "That's impossible, sir. That's above Class 10 threshold." Talon narrowed his eyes. "Open a visual." The screen flickered, showing the crater where the mining tunnels had been. A column of blue light still rose into the clouds. The commander clenched his jaw. "So the rumors were true. The core still exists." He turned to his officers. "Send in the Vanguard Division, and bring me the human alive. If he's bonded with the entity, we might need him." Down below, Eli and Lyra stood before the core. The glow brightened, casting soft waves through the air. "It's calling to you," Eli said quietly. Lyra nodded. "It recognizes a link between us. It shouldn't be possible. You're human. Your body wasn't made to hold this energy." Eli took a shaky breath. "But it's reacting to me too, isn't it?" Lyra looked into his eyes. "Because your heart accepted me without fear. The core responds to what is pure, not what is powerful." Suddenly the ground shook. Rocks rained down from above. Lyra's head snapped up. She could hear engines, movement, the hum of Union ships closing in. "They found us," she said. Eli grabbed his tool pack. "Then we need to move, now." But before they could take a step, a deep voice echoed from the tunnel. "Eli Turner," said Commander Talon, stepping into view with soldiers behind him. "Step away from the anomaly." Lyra's glow dimmed. "Don't," she whispered to Eli. "He's dangerous." Eli raised his hands. "She's not a weapon, Commander. She's alive. She saved me. She saved this planet." Talon's visor flashed red. "Save it for your trial. You violated galactic law by merging with an energy being. Do you know what that means?" Lyra stepped forward, calm but firm. "It means your law fears what it cannot control." Talon laughed coldly. "You're an ancient relic. Your kind caused the Nova Wars. Do you think we forgot what your light did to half the galaxy?" Lyra's expression didn't change. "The light didn't destroy your worlds. Your fear did." The soldiers raised their plasma rifles. Eli moved in front of Lyra, trembling but unafraid. "If you want her, you'll have to go through me." Talon sighed. "So be it." He snapped his fingers. A pulse shot through the air. Energy nets wrapped around them both. Lyra screamed. The light around her body flared wildly. The core trembled as if alive, its glow darkening to crimson. Eli shouted, "Stop! You're hurting her!" But Talon's soldiers kept pulling, their suits glowing as they tried to contain her. Then the core reacted. A wave of light exploded outward, silent, powerful, unstoppable. The nets disintegrated. The soldiers were thrown against the walls. Eli shielded his eyes as the cave filled with blinding blue fire. When the light faded, the soldiers were gone, vanished. Only Eli, Lyra, and Talon remained. Talon fell to his knees, his armor cracked. He stared at Lyra, horrified. You're no anomaly. You're the source." Eli looked at her, confused. "What does he mean?" Lyra's voice was soft but trembling. "The source is the first energy, the beginning of creation, the power that once built the galaxies, and now it lives inside me." Eli took a step back. The truth hit him like thunder. Lyra wasn't just different, she was something the galaxy wasn't meant to see again. Talon, wounded but alive, looked up at her with hate. "The Union will burn every world to stop you." Lyra turned to Eli. "Then we will make them remember what light truly means." As the core pulsed brighter, the tunnels began to shake once more. Outside, the skies of Valora 9 split open, a blue storm spiraling into the stars. The war for truth had just begun. The skies of Valora 9 burned blue for 3 days. Every sensor in the Galactic Union picked up the same impossible reading. The source light, the ancient energy that was thought to be destroyed thousands of years ago, was alive again. And at the center of it all were 2 names that now echoed across every channel: Eli Turner, the human engineer; Lyra, the light-born alien who broke the laws of creation. Eli woke up inside a small shuttle drifting through the storm clouds. The air smelled of metal and smoke. His head pounded, but the soft hum beside him made him smile weakly. Lyra sat near the window, her light dimmed to a gentle glow. "You're awake," she said softly. He groaned and sat up. "What happened?" "We escaped before the cave collapsed," she explained. "The core merged with me fully, but it also sent a signal, a pulse that reached across the stars." Eli rubbed his temples. "You mean they all know?" Lyra nodded slowly. "Every Union system. They will come for us." Eli looked out the window. The sky was still glowing faintly blue, clouds swirling like ink in water. "Then we need to stay ahead of them. I can fix this ship. We can hide." Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes calm. "You still believe we can hide from an empire?" He gave a small, tired smile. "I believe in you. That's enough." Meanwhile, on the Union flagship Eclipse Sentinel, Commander Talon Drax stood before the Council holograms. Their faces flickered across the air, 10 alien species cold and silent. Talon bowed his head. "The source has awakened. The human and the Vorthon anomaly are still alive. I request authorization to engage planetary strike," one of the counselors hissed. "A strike will destroy 500,000 civilians." Another replied coldly, "Collateral damage." The source must not spread, but one voice, calm, deep human, spoke above the rest. "Wait, you said a human is bonded with it?" Talon nodded. "Yes, counselor. A mechanic named Eli Turner. He may be the key to controlling the source." The human counselor leaned forward. "Then bring him to us alive. The galaxy cannot afford another Nova war." Talon bowed slightly. "Understood." When the holograms vanished, Talon turned to his officers. "Prepare the hunter fleet if they resist. We burn the planet." In the drifting shuttle, Eli worked on repairing the engines while Lyra watched the sky. Her body flickered now and then, unstable, as if fighting to stay solid. He noticed it. "You're fading again." "The core energy isn't meant to live inside flesh," she said softly. "It's too much. I can hold it, but not forever." Eli frowned. "Then we find a way to help you. Maybe there's a system somewhere far unregistered where we can—" Before he could finish, the ship's console began to beep wildly. "Multiple signatures approaching," Eli muttered. "Fast, Union ships." Lyra closed her eyes. "They've found us." Moments later, the view outside filled with dark shapes, massive silver ships blocking the sky, their engines glowing like suns. Eli's heart pounded. "They're going to fire." Lyra stood up, her light growing stronger. "Then I will protect us." "Lyra." Before he could stop her, she placed her hand on the shuttle wall. The metal shimmered blue, and in the next instant the ship shot forward like a comet, vanishing into the clouds. Union sensors went dark. On the flagship, Talon slammed his fist on the console. "She's bending light travel manually?" "That's impossible." An officer replied, terrified. "She's rewriting space itself, sir." "No known engine can do that." Talon stared at the empty sky. "No engine, but a god could." The shuttle reappeared hours later above an abandoned moon. Reiner 3, a forgotten world covered in silver dust. Eli landed the ship near a broken observatory. Lyra stumbled out, her light flickering. Eli caught her before she fell. "You pushed too far," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "For you, I'd push the stars themselves." He carried her inside the observatory and laid her down on a platform once used to track galaxies. The old mirrors still shimmered faintly in the moonlight. Eli touched her hand. "Rest, I'll keep watch." But Lyra shook her head weakly. "No, Eli, listen carefully. If they capture me, they'll drain the source. It will destroy the galaxy's balance." Eli's eyes widened. "Then we fight, together." She looked at him with sadness and love. "You can't fight the Union alone." He smiled softly. "Maybe not. But humans, we're good at impossible things. Far above, the Union fleet closed in again, hundreds of ships aligning their weapons. Inside the flagship, Talon gave the final command. Lock target. Begin countdown. But just before the strike, the blue light returned, blinding, endless. Every system went offline. Sensors failed. Ships froze mid-air. The source had awakened again, and this time it wasn't just Lyra who glowed. Eli's body began to shine with the same light. The galaxy had just witnessed something that had never happened before. A human touching the source. The moon Reiner 3 was silent. No wind, no sound, just the endless silver dust reflecting the stars above. But in the heart of that quiet world, something impossible was happening. Eli Turner stood beside Lyra, both surrounded by glowing blue light. His hands trembled, his heart raced, and every breath he took shimmered in the air like frost made of energy. The source light, ancient, eternal, was now flowing inside a human. Lyra, weak but smiling, whispered, "Eli, you shouldn't be able to hold it." Eli looked down at his hands. The veins beneath his skin glowed faintly like tiny rivers of starlight. "I don't understand it either. It's like, it knows me. It's not burning. It's guiding." Lyra reached out and touched his face, her light flickering. "You accepted me without fear. That's why it chose you. The source only answers to hearts that see beyond form." He gave a soft, breathless laugh. "So love is stronger than physics?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Always." But far above the silver moon, the Union fleet was in chaos. Inside the flagship Eclipse Sentinel, alarms blared. Holoscreens showed readings no one could believe. Eli Turner's body was producing the same energy waves as the source itself. Commander Talon Drax stared at the impossible data. "He's human. How is this possible?" A Union scientist, trembling, replied, "Sir, it's not possible. No biological life form can bond with source light. It would erase them in seconds." Talon leaned closer. "Then why isn't he dead?" The scientist hesitated. "Because the source might be adapting, learning from him." From his human emotions, Talon froze. "You're saying the source is evolving through him?" Before the scientist could answer, another officer shouted, "Sir, a signal. Direct transmission from Reiner 3. Talon's visor glowed red. "Put it through." The screen flickered, and Lyra's image appeared. Her light was dim, but her eyes burned with calm fury. "Commander," she said, "if you keep hunting us, you will awaken something you cannot contain." Talon's voice was like ice. "You've already done that. Hand over the human or we will glass that moon." Eli's voice cut in from behind her. "You think fear keeps the galaxy safe, but all it's done is make you blind." Talon's jaw tightened. "You don't understand what you're holding, human. The source destroyed empires before yours even existed. It doesn't love, it consumes." Eli looked into the camera. "Maybe it consumes what doesn't deserve to live in the dark." Before Talon could reply, the signal cut. The feed went black. Back on the moon, Lyra collapsed, her light flickering like a dying flame. Eli caught her in his arms, panic filling his chest. "Stay with me, Lyra, please." She opened her eyes weakly. "Eli, listen. The source inside you, it's still forming a link. If it completes, your body will change. You won't be human anymore." He swallowed hard. "If it means I can protect you, then let it." Lyra shook her head weakly. "No, you don't understand. Once it fuses fully, you'll lose your sense of self. You'll become what the core once was, a living storm." Eli's voice trembled. "Then we'll find another way. We always do." But before he could speak again, the ground beneath them began to shake. A faint humming filled the air like distant thunder. Lyra's eyes widened. "They've arrived." The Union vanguard landed on the moon, hundreds of armored soldiers spreading across the silver plains, their ships glowing like floating suns. In the center, Commander Talon stepped out, his blade humming with plasma. "Eli Turner." His voice echoed through the comms. "By order of the Galactic Union, surrender the entity and the source energy immediately." Eli looked down at Lyra, then at the horizon glowing with ships. "If I do that, they'll kill you." Lyra's voice was faint. "If you don't, they'll kill everything else." Eli stood slowly. The blue light within him pulsed brighter. His heartbeat grew louder, matching the rhythm of the storm above. Talon's soldiers aimed their weapons. Eli raised his hands. "You want the source? Then come take it." For a moment, silence. Then the first shot fired. The plasma bolt hit Eli square in the chest, but instead of falling, he absorbed it. The air shimmered. His body glowed with blinding light, and energy rippled outward like a wave through the sand. Soldiers were thrown back, their weapons melting in their hands. Talon staggered, shielding his eyes. "What are you?" he shouted. Eli's voice echoed like thunder. "Human." The source had awakened fully inside him now. He could feel everything, the pulse of the moon, the hum of every atom, even the fear in Talon's soldiers' hearts. But he wasn't angry. He felt only calm. He turned to Lyra, who was watching him with tears in her glowing eyes. "You see?" she whispered. "The source chose right. It found love in a human." Eli knelt beside her, his light wrapping around her gently. "Then let's show them what that means." Above the moon, the Union fleet prepared to fire one final strike. But before they could, the entire surface of Rhinor 3 erupted in a wave of blue light that spread outward like dawn, breaking over darkness. Every ship froze. Every weapon powered down, and for the first time in galactic history, a human and a being of pure energy stood against the entire Union. The legend of Eli Turner had just begun. The wave of blue energy spread across the stars like a sunrise that refused to end. Every ship, every sensor, every world connected to the Union network went dark for exactly 7 minutes. And in that silence, something changed forever. On the barren moon of Rhinor 3, Eli Turner stood still as the storm of light faded around him. His eyes glowed faintly silver now. The dust at his feet lifted in slow motion, floating as if obeying his will. Lyra watched from where she lay, her glow weak but steady. "You've become something new," she whispered. Eli's voice was calm but heavy with wonder. "I can feel everything. The air, the dust, even the stars above us. It's like the universe is breathing with me." Lyra smiled softly. "You've bonded with the source completely. You are not just human now, Eli. You are part of creation itself." He looked down at his hands, pure light flickered beneath his skin. "Then maybe it's time to use that to stop them." Above the moon, the Union fleet tried to recover. Systems blinked, ships struggled to reboot. Commander Talon Drax stood on the bridge, his armor cracked from the last blast, his voice sharp with fury. "Status report," he barked. "Shields offline. Weapons disabled. Energy drain across all decks," the officer replied, panic clear in his voice. Talon slammed his fist on the console. "That human has turned into a living reactor. He's rewriting physical law." Another officer spoke quietly. "Sir, the Council is demanding answers. They want to know if you can capture him alive." Talon's jaw tightened. "Alive?" He turned toward the observation window where the moon glowed like a small sun. "No one captures a god alive." On the surface, Eli built a small beacon out of the shuttle's broken parts. The sky above shimmered with the reflection of Union ships waiting for orders. Lyra watched him curiously. "What are you doing?" He tightened the final bolt, sending a signal not to them, to anyone who still believes in truth, to anyone tired of living under fear. Lyra's voice trembled. "You're calling them?" Eli looked at her. "No, I'm reminding them." He pressed a button. A deep hum spread through the air. Blue light burst upward like a flare that pierced the heavens. It wasn't a weapon. It was a message. Across the galaxy, thousands of ships and colonies received the same transmission. "We are not bound by fear. We are not made to obey darkness. I am human, and I choose light." In the great halls of the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. Reports poured in. Some colonies were cheering, others were terrified. Entire fleets were refusing orders to attack. Councillor Varan of the Thalri slammed his clawed hand on the table.
"He's spreading rebellion."
The human councillor leaned back slowly, his face pale. "No, he's spreading hope," Varan hissed. "Hope is dangerous." The human councillor looked up. So is the truth. Back on Rhinor 3, the Union fleet finally powered up. Commander Talon's voice echoed across the moon through the comm systems. "Eli Turner, you are charged with violating galactic law, corrupting the source, and inciting rebellion. Surrender immediately or face annihilation." Eli looked at Lyra. "You should go. I can handle this," she shook her head. "Where you go, I go," Eli smiled faintly. "Then let's give them a reason to remember us." The sky darkened as hundreds of Union ships aligned their weapons. Energy cannons hummed, ready to fire. Talon gave the final order. "All units, fire." The world exploded in light. Beams of plasma and ion fire slammed into the surface, but before they could hit, Eli raised his hand. The blast froze midair. suspended in glowing energy like rain caught in glass. He turned his palm outward and the light reversed, shooting back toward the ships but without heat. Without death, just pure force. The Union ships scattered like leaves in a storm. Talon's voice broke through the static. "What are you doing, human? You could destroy us all." Eli's voice was calm and echoing through the void. "No, I'm saving you from yourselves." With one movement, he sent a pulse that disabled every weapon, every engine, every targeting system in orbit. Then silence. Lyra walked to his side, her light glowing brighter now. "You didn't kill them." Eli shook his head. "If I use the source for death, I become what they fear." "This isn't power, it's a choice," she smiled. "That's what makes you different from gods, Eli. You still have a heart." But even as they stood together, the stars above began to move. Dozens of hyperspace portals opened, more fleets arriving. Entire armadas from distant sectors were coming. Lyra's expression turned grim. "They won't stop. The Union will throw the galaxy at you." Eli looked up at the sky full of warships, his silver eyes glowing brighter. "Then we stop running." He lifted his hand toward the heavens. "Let them see what a human's light can do." The air around him rippled. The surface of the moon cracked. The source inside him began to awaken again, stronger than ever before. Lyra whispered in awe, "Eli, you're becoming the light itself." He turned to her, smiling softly. "Then I'll make sure this light never dies." Above them, the stars themselves began to shift, answering his call. The final chapter of humanity's defiance was about to begin. The stars trembled. The moon Reiner 3 glowed like a lantern in the black sea of space. Around it, thousands of Union ships formed a ring of fire, every weapon, every fleet, every commander waiting for a single order. At the center of it all stood Eli Turner, the human who had done the impossible, the man who touched the source. His body now shimmered like living starlight. The blue glow that surrounded him reached miles into the sky, bending gravity, bending time itself. Beside him stood Lyra, her form no longer fragile. Her light had steadied, merging softly with his, two auras woven together like sunrise and dawn. She looked up, whispering, "They're afraid." Eli nodded slowly. "They should be, but not of me, of what they've become." On the flagship Eclipse Sentinel, Commander Talon Drax stood at the front window, his fists clenched. His voice was hoarse but steady. "Open all channels," he ordered. The communication lights flickered, and suddenly every ship, every colony, every planet connected to the Union heard his voice, and then Eli's. Eli's calm tone filled the galaxy. "For centuries you've called humans weak. You mocked us for feeling too much, for caring too deeply, but it is feeling that has always been our strength." He raised his hand and the stars seemed to pulse brighter. "You built laws to control power. You built empires to hide from truth. But love cannot be controlled. That's why you fear it. That's why you fear us." Silence fell across the fleet. Even the engines seemed to stop humming. Talon pressed the comm. "You speak of love while you wield a weapon that can erase galaxies." Eli's silver eyes met the commander's image through the projection. "Then understand this, I don't want to erase the galaxy. I want to heal it." Lyra stepped forward beside him. Her voice was gentle, glowing with music. "The source was never meant to destroy. It was meant to awaken, to remind creation what it once was." But the council, watching from distant worlds, panicked. "Cut the transmission," shouted Counselor Varen. "Target the moon," another demanded. "End this before the source spreads." Talon hesitated. He stared at the image of the glowing human, standing hand in hand with the alien he had once called a monster. Something in his heart, something buried under years of orders and fear, stirred. "Sir," said an officer quietly. "Your command?" Talon looked at the screen. "Hold fire," the officer blinked. "Sir?" He repeated louder. "Hold fire." Below, Eli closed his eyes. The source pulsed inside him like a second heartbeat. He could feel everything. The ships, the fear, the billions of lives watching from distant worlds. And deep beneath all that, he felt something else. Sorrow. The galaxy had forgotten how to hope. He whispered to Lyra, "If I can give them even one spark of that again, then this is worth it." Lyra gripped his hand tighter. "You'll burn yourself out." He smiled softly. "Then I'll become the light they follow." And then he let go. The surface of Reiner 3 exploded in color. A massive wave of blue and silver light spread outward. Not as destruction, but as creation. The darkness of space lit up with patterns like galaxies being born again. Every ship in orbit powered down. Every weapon melted away into harmless dust. But no one died. Instead, every being, human, alien, machine, felt something warm in their chest. A heartbeat that wasn't theirs. A memory of love, peace, and light. Talon fell to his knees, tears in his eyes. What is this feeling? A soft voice echoed in his mind, Eli's voice. This is what it means to be alive. In that moment, the source spread across the stars, entering every world, every creature, changing nothing and everything. When the light finally faded, Reiner 3 was quiet again. The Union ships hovered silently above the now calm moon. But Eli and Lyra were gone. Only a single sphere of light remained at the center of the crater, small, pulsing gently like a heart. Talon landed on the surface with a small team. He walked up to the glowing sphere and reached out. Inside, he saw two faint figures, one human, one luminous, holding hands. He whispered, "He became the light." Weeks later, the entire Union changed. The Council dissolved the old laws. Planets began to rebuild, not out of fear, but understanding. And on Earth, a monument was raised. At its center, carved in silver stone, were the words that Eli had spoken before the final light. Love is the only power that grows stronger when it's shared. The legend of Eli Turner spread beyond the stars. Some said his spirit still guided lost travelers through the dark. Others claimed they saw a faint blue glow whenever peace was restored between enemies. Lyra's people, once shunned, were now honored as guardians of the source. And across the galaxy, children would look up at the stars and whisper stories about the human who loved an alien so much. He became light itself,